From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
It's oh so quiet. Shh, shh.
Wake up! What up, everybody? Let's do it. We're back, man. Football's back. I'm back. I'm excited. So much optimism and hope is flowing through the walls of the Midtown offices. Myself, Corey Clark, here for you. It's Wake Up War Chant, part of the WarChant.com family. Huge, awesome, great promo going on right now. I don't know the promo code. Let me get that, Corey. Why don't you tell people how you're doing right now?
I'm doing great, Aslan. How are we looking on that promo code?
I think it's FSU Spring 2019, but I'm going to confirm that in the next 3 seconds if you want to count us down Mississippi-wise, possibly. And it's not there either. Man, what a terrible way to start the show after we had a great Monday watching football.
We did watch football.
Pads popping. It was a magical time. It was a magical time, Corey.
It was. It reminds you of what you've been missing. And obviously, I'm a big college basketball fan. People know that. I'm a big baseball fan. I'm excited that's getting started. There's nothing quite like the sounds of, well, I was going to say pads popping, but they weren't in pads. But there's nothing like the sounds of trash-talking DBs and trash-talking wide receivers on a football field. And the fact that we got to watch it all, that's cool, man.
The entire thing, start to beginning.
Yep, 2.5 hours or so of it.
It's not that cold in here. Tell your lady to show respect to my house.
Yeah, it's like 72 in here. You think
FSU
it was 40.
Spring 2019. It's a promo code.
Oh, you had it right.
Yeah, sometimes you got to trust your first instinct. All right, let me pull up my phone to share my observations since you and Ira had a big one. All right, let's get to it first. First of all, I don't like that the War Chant account retweeted. Did you see the guy that tweeted your face on Jebediah Simpson's face?
It was Cinefunk, who does a lot of good work.
Yeah.
But, so Cinefunk, I got a problem with you, man. I'm calling you out. Calling you out. I like your work. You do a lot of good work. I'm watching your stuff he's on YouTube, right? Doesn't he some of those old highlight videos?
He's like on the black web or something on YouTube because he's evading the law.
But my man posts the famous the Simpsons meme of Grandpa Simpson yelling at a cloud, and the headline says "Old Man Yells at Cloud." And he put a picture of me on Abe Simpson and said, "Old man yells at music," which was funny, and it was well done. It was a good little Photoshop effort.
Right.
I don't think it probably took him a ton of time, but he did a good job with it.
Yeah.
But, man, I like the music.
Yeah, he does.
He got it all wrong. Cinefunk, I don't know where you're getting your info from.
Yeah, man.
I mean, sure, I'm old, and I'm bald, and it was a picture of me, but I like the music. My co-host is the one that has been against the music from day one.
Why does it bother people that I don't like it? Like, do they think I'm being some sort of, loser,
I think you're
nerd?
thinking that they think you're putting way too much stock into that. Like, it's not the music doesn't translate to the football field.
Right, but it's
I think
part
that's
of
their thought.
It's part of the cocktail.
And you're not letting them
trash.
You're an old man, and you're not letting them partake in their ways and have fun. Right. But I like the music. I missed it. Yeah. By the way, getting to the point that matters, there was no music today.
There wasn't. All right, so there's no music, and DeAndre Francois is out of town, so I got 2 or 3 things done. My final act will bring us back to the top. Stay tuned for what I'm going to try to put into the world.
But no music was up there on the top 3 list.
It was on there, man.
And 12 no longer being on in the program.
Which is a joke. I wanted to see where he's at. I haven't seen where he's ended up at. But you mentioned before we went to air right here that no more reinforcements coming in from
what's the kid's name? Starkle?
Nick
from
Starkle.
Texas A&M. He committed to Arkansas on Monday night. So I'm not sure what you just put in your mouth. That was weird.
This is Iranian fruit roll-up, brother.
What a weird time to eat it.
Oh, that's right. I can't do it because I'm going to make all that noise. Remember I did it last time and people were like, stop eating on the job.
It was weird. You weren't eating when I got here, and then all of a sudden we start the show and you start eating.
I got a little yen for it.
But, so that's not an option. So the options that are on the table.
It's part of the plan.
Are the options that are here, it would seem.
Yeah.
You got Nolan McDonald and you got Jordan Travis. We got to watch them on Monday.
Yes.
I will say this again. It's one practice. Please take everything we say with those grains of salt. That it's one practice and there's not even pads on, and it's the first practice of the spring. I didn't see a big difference between Nolan McDonald and Jordan Travis. I thought quite frankly, I thought Nolan McDonald. I don't know that I say quite frankly in any other capacity except on this show. In day-to-day conversation, have I ever said it to you?
I don't think so.
It's really weird.
I also don't think I do when I'm talking to my friends. Like, I'd hate to say it, but I always do. I hate to say this guy sucks, but he sucks.
It's odd. So I think Nolan McDonald has a stronger arm.
And I wasn't saying that he sucks. I was just using an example of previous things.
But there wasn't a discernible difference, in my opinion, between the two. I thought James Blackmon, from what we saw, was ahead of both of them. A little quicker, stronger arm, better, more accurate. None of the quarterbacks were great.
No.
But I think a lot of that had to do with the DBs kind of held it down, man. They are confident in themselves, which is a good thing. I know you might roll your eyes and be like, yeah, we'll see what they look like against Clemson. Well, nobody looks good against those Clemson wide receivers, but they are a confident group. And my man, Akeem Dent, I like that dude a lot.
Sauce Magic, a.k.a. Do-It-All Dent.
The thing about him, folks, and I wrote about this on thegreatwarchant.com, that if you're not a subscriber, again, get it together.
FSU Spring 2019, 6 bonus months and a $50 gift certificate code to Garnet and Gold, the top provider of FSU apparel and merchandise.
So I don't know if you were there or not. Number one, they were doing the 7-on-7 stuff, and I think they completed like a little 6-yard out on him. He was right there, but just missed it, and I think Trayshawn Harrison caught it for like a 6-yard out before he ran out of bounds. And then he went over to, I think it might have been Barnett, and they were talking, and he did something with his hands, like a hand motion. And then Barnett nodded and goes, yeah. And then Akeem Dent yelled at Coach Kendall Briles, said, Coach B, you're not completing that one on me again. I know the play call. Yeah. Like yelled it loud, his very first college football practice. Yelling to the offensive coordinator, essentially 20 yards away, telling him that's not happening again. That to me is like, okay, he's looking at the play call that the offensive coordinator's signaling in. Man, he's trying to look for any advantage he can. That's a good sign, man. That's a professional thing to do. And then later on, what really impressed me was there was a play where the Florida State defense jumped off sides because they do that. The center then snapped the ball, and they whistled the play dead, but before they whistled it dead, a couple of the receivers started running their routes. Akeem Dent was in coverage. As soon as he saw the routes they were running, and then as they were walking back to the huddle because the play didn't count, he ran over to Emmett Rice and said, hey, did you see outside? That's what they're doing. Like he was looking at what they were. He was communicating with Emmett Rice at his very first practice, like a
quarterback of the defense,
like a 3-year veteran. Yeah. On top of which, he's supremely talented. But he's also got that next level ability, the intellectual ability to understand football and understand concepts and to care enough to pay attention to little details. That to me was a great sign moving forward. They got a lot of Asante Samuel wouldn't stop talking.
I like 26. Man.
Yeah, he's got a lot of something. He's got a lot to him. So does 8, obviously.
Yeah. Although 8 was a little, resistance is futile when you're going up against 15.
What were you saying when he on that pass?
You
said something like, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck or something like that as the ball was in the air. Yeah. Good luck. That was the first. So they threw it to Tamorian probably, I think in the 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 stuff, mainly 7-on-7. They probably threw it to him 5 times. Yeah. 3 were long touchdowns. Yeah. The other 2 would have been long touchdowns, but they were overthrown.
He probably would have dove for. I know one of
the
them.
One he would have probably dove in the. He leaves kids in the dust, and these are kids. A few of them are going to be playing on Sundays, and he is straight leaving them in the dust. He made a move on, I think it was Litton. He did a stutter step about 8 yards downfield.
Not fair.
Litton sat down and see ya. That was a wrap. I mean, the guy moves like a 5'10 guy, 5'9 guy, but he's 6'3 and a half, 200-something pounds, and runs a 4'3 something. Just a freak. Keep him in bubble. He doesn't need to practice anymore.
No. Let's keep the good vibes going. I thought in terms of guys that were injured that are back-ish, Kalen LeBourne to me, was amazed to see him run with some sense of burst. He wasn't cutting, but there was a couple moments where he got a handoff and inside drills, inside run drill that you're like, whoa.
It's early March.
Look at this kid.
You get the feeling, man, 6 months from now,
he
could legit be 100%. Mm-hmm. Like right at 100%, stronger than ever.
They air casted and carted him off.
Yeah,
man.
And then 6 months, and then he's got 6 months till that first game. Yeah. He should be. He's a guy that they're going to depend on. I think.
Yeah, and his upper body is even more developed than it was last year too. He looks maybe even more physically.
Well, you don't want to get too big. Obviously, you don't want to do that. But if he's what he was at the beginning of last year for those 2 plays that we saw him, man, that's another weapon now. Up front, we'll see. Right. Guess we could talk about that a little bit.
Well,
Randy Clements was there.
I was going to continue on that note. Again, take it with a grain of salt. Roll your eyes. Dude, Landon Dickerson looks like, if offensive linemen don't have the most appealing physiques, but like if I was going to walk the world as an offensive lineman, I would want to look like Landon Dickerson does right now. Like Dickerson looks really good. aesthetically, but he also was moving really well in drills. It was funny. They had this sort of drill where they had these squares, and they stood at the top of it. And basically, it was just you're standing in a square, and you're in the middle of it, up top, and it's basically just to give you good foot placement. So Clement's like, I want you to take 2 steps back and then shuffle to your left, and then 2 steps back, and then by that time, you're going to be outside the box. Well, there's 3 boxes. There's one for centers, there's one for guards, there's one for tackles. And, he's like, all right, hip, set, go. And they do it. And he's like, all right, next people up. And he joked. He's like, all right, well, some guys can clearly do this faster than others because, Dickerson's footwork was just so smooth. Where it was taking everybody, all these, rushed shuffle steps to get back. He was just like, boom, 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 boom. It's like, all right, man, if he can stay healthy. And listen, last year.
Sort of a big if.
It is a big if. Last year was a bit of a bizarre sort of instance because it wasn't a structural thing. And it was a structural thing at first, obviously, with Virginia Tech, but then it was post-surgery, post-procedure, not taking care of things the way that he probably should have. So, I'm gonna keep some hope on that, at least for now. Why not be a little optimistic?
Be optimistic. Again, if he could stay healthy, he's.
You don't have 4 other things to worry about.
You would say he's by far your best lineman. He's your most proven. He does look the part more than any of them. He does move better than any of them. So you had Dickerson at right tackle. You had Mike Arnold at right guard. You had Big Baby at center, which I think was a bit of a surprise.
That was surprising. I thought Brady Scott was.
So Brady Scott was at left guard, and then Jawan was at left tackle.
No one's happy about that. A lot of snarky comments.
Well,
Come on, root for the kid, everybody. Just root for the kid.
I think they're all rooting for him. Well, most. There's that faction of fans that would rather be proven right than their team win.
Well, there's just some comments. You're like, dude, did you really have to go and type that out right there?
Yeah, but Lord knows I've said some stuff. I can't really give him too much grief. But so that's your starting 5 for now. But again, this is Clements' first time working with these guys, and that certainly doesn't mean by the end of spring that'll be the same 5 that's up there. Also, certainly doesn't mean by Jacksonville and Boise that's going to be the case. But those are the 5 they've, I guess, penciled in with really light pencil.
Cole Minshew was out there, but he wasn't participating.
So you got to assume Minshew's back there too. And then what do you do with Brady Scott? Do you move him back to center? I think I give Big Baby a go, man.
His snaps look good.
Well, the snaps are obviously more important.
That was a large reason, folks. That was a large reason why you probably didn't see him last year.
Well, and we'll say this, the backup center was Christian Meadows on Monday, and it was all over the place. And you see, eventually they took him out and put Baselli in.
Yeah, Andrew Baselli's back.
Texas is back, folks.
He's back.
Baselli's back. So because Meadows just could not get the ball back to the quarterback. Now, you think that that's going to get right. You're going to end up being able to snap the ball back there. It's his first time doing it.
Yeah.
But with Big Baby, the snaps are great, but he's a mountain of a person. Mm-hmm. And if you can have a center that can move people out of the way, you saw what it was with the last good offensive line they had here. With Cam Irving, when they moved him to center, it opened up the world. Yeah. Dalvin Cook started playing more, but I don't think it's coincidental. They started rushing for 200 yards a game once they moved Cam Irving to center and put Roderick Johnson at left tackle. If you can have a good center, and they had 2 really good ones right in a row, and then a few substitute teachers after that since, but that can really, really help. So maybe Big Baby can take that next step and really kind of anchor that line because he seems like a pretty talented dude if he knows what he's doing. And what I was not impressed with, I don't know. I didn't pay enough attention, quite honestly, to not quite frankly, but quite honestly, to Greg Fry last year. It's after a while you can't watch offensive line drills anymore. It's like, okay, I'm going to go watch the fun guys do cool things and then with the ball in the air. But Clements was coaching the whole time, and not just coaching no, I want you here, but like you talked about, really working on technique, getting your hips into them. Knees to nuts. That was a saying that he said maybe 30 or 40 times. I want knees to nuts. Apologies if you have kids in the car, but that's a hashtag. Obviously, that's going to be I think that's going to be their motto for 2019. All those people that made fun of him last year, you're getting a knee to the nuts. But that's what he was talking when you're moving, trying to get into the defensive tackle, get your knee right there where they can't move. Now he's not telling you to knee them in there, but just it's what he's trying to preach to these guys.
I thought he was talking about them when they're taking their step that they almost want to knee themselves in.
Oh, I thought. I don't pay attention. I don't pay attention enough. Maybe. I thought it was more like getting in the middle.
That sounds more plausible
the defense,
than mine,
when they're moving, when they're pulling. Yeah. So, but he's really working with the technique aspect of it. Really really detailed stuff. I don't know that Greg Fry did a ton of that last year, but again, take the caveat that I didn't pay a ton of attention last year to the offensive line stuff like I was today.
Again,
Monday.
And it's the first day, and I'm not trying to speak ill of those who are no longer here. I don't know how good or bad Greg Fry was an offensive line coach, but I do remember the times when I would observe them, there was a lot of sort of, do a snap like, whoa, no, you did it wrong. And it was a lot of kind of like the guys didn't know why they kind of goofed on the rep, but he did work with them, and so they would be able to figure it out. But Clemens, for what it's worth, I mean, at least day one, was a nice guy, it seems like. I mean, I'm sure he's going to ramp up his expectations and demand more from them as things progress. But it was encouraging to see, and I think Will even mentioned it too when we asked him about what Randy Clemens is going to bring, and he just kind of pointed to the fact that it helps when your offensive coordinator and your offensive line coach are on the same page.
Sure. They know how each other works, what they want.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what Briles wants and what he expects because he's been with him for his whole career essentially almost, right?
Yeah.
What do you think of I was really intrigued. I don't know. That's
actually, hold on.
Go
on.
on. Don't talk to me like that.
No, I'm going to it's the 5th, right? The show is going to be acting for the 5th, although we're recording this on Monday. I'm going to drop this on Monday night. Like if you need it for your commute, just don't listen to it until Tuesday morning.
Okay.
Wake up still, but some people
go to sleep. Wonder if people listen to us falling asleep. I do that with podcasts. I listen to podcasts all the time to fall asleep.
I slow us down to 0.5% or like
half speed,
and
you go to sleep that way. That's cool. You like to listen to your own voice as you fall asleep.
It's kind of like game tape.
Yeah,
but also
sure.
soothes me as I go to sleep.
But what did you think of Briles? Really, really kind of in the background.
It's the Zen master.
You like it. You like it a
lot.
lot.
It was kind of cool, man.
Yeah, like for the people that don't know, like so when Jimbo was here, we've all heard the stories, but he's behind the quarterback the whole practice, screaming and yelling at either quarterback or the wide receiver for on the wrong route. I'm not criticizing the guy; he won a lot of games. I'm just saying that's how he coached.
Right.
That's how he coached. Walt Bell was up there behind the quarterbacks too. Now he wasn't as loud. Nobody's as loud as Jimbo, and plus, we couldn't hear anyway because of the music, but. He wasn't as loud as what do you think about that, Funk? Make another meme out of that. But Kendall Briles during 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 isn't in the backfield at all. He's off to the sideline signaling in plays, which I thought that was really interesting because in the position stuff, in the 7-on-7 and the 11-on-11, he's not really coaching the quarterbacks. I'm sure what he will do is coach them during the film session. Mm-hmm. Instead of telling, I assume that's what he likes to do. That's how he coaches. Instead of yelling at them on the moment when they're going over film, he's pointing out what they did wrong, what they did right, and everything else. But he's letting them do it as if it's a game. And he's literally 30 yards off to the side. He's on the sideline signaling in the next play. The whole practice. Except for the position stuff where they're working by themselves. It
was just comforting to me. It just screamed of his silence, screamed of just confidence. Like he knows what he needs to see, how he wants to get things done. It was the first day, which even makes it that much more. All right, cool. This is the way things are going to work. But yeah, there's times obviously he comes there between certain I guess route combinations they want to work on when they're doing 7-on-7. He would walk to the middle of the field and kind of he would do the hand signals up close so they had a better vision of it. But yeah, just to see him, I mean, literally just arms folded. It was kind of just like just a guy surveying everything and like, okay, and this is what we're gonna do. Real, just calm, nonchalantly. You never saw him like yell. You never saw him throw anything. Which again, I know maybe I'm being hypocritical because Jimbo would be going nuts, but there's more than one way to skin a cat or what have you. But I thought it was, it was. I'm like, all right, so this guy, he's it. I mean, his dad has the blueprint, pass it on to his son, and his son is doing it. It seems like a pretty good job, at least knowing what he wants to do. And yeah, it just seemed like there was a moment there. If you watch the raw video that's on the YouTube channel, which subscribe to, by the way, the YouTube channel, it's totally free of charge. Subscribe to it. You'll get this podcast when it drops. You'll get like all the video content and features that we post on there. It's all free too. Subscribe to it, but. Go ahead and look at the video. Where was I going with this? I had such a good point.
About him not really being in their faces. I don't know.
How did I ruin that? I was going somewhere really good with that. Everyone's going to be like totally disappointed. Aslan,
I know.
Where's the aha moment?
Aslan's getting ready. Get ready. Turn it up.
Oh, yeah, here it is.
All right,
there's literally a moment where there was all four quarterbacks were lined up. It was 16 who was a walk-on, Elysian or something like that.
So when you say all four quarterbacks, you mean the one scholarship guy, one that won't be eligible, right, and the two non-scholarship, the two walk-ons.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. but it was just boom, boom, boom. I mean, for at least 4 reps of each of them, it was Blackmon went, and then I'm following the ball that Blackmon throws, and then before I can even pan back over to the line of scrimmage, Jordan Travis has already thrown a ball, and I'm like, okay, there's the receiver. And then I'm panning back, and Nolan McDonald's already throwing a ball, and they went like that for at least 4 reps for that period. There was very rarely anything that went off that crisply, that quickly, that much tempo in the 13 weeks of the season that we noticed last year, or at least that I recognize. There were certain moments they try to run tempo against air, but I mean, not with – it was like, all right, you go – it was like Francois Blackmon, but they have 4 guys just lined up. It seemed like they maximized their time. There was things, Ron Dugans, we're not even mentioning him yet. There were certain drills that he ran that I'm like, I don't remember ever seeing the receivers run last year that makes so much sense if you're all about your perimeter pass game.
I thought Dugans was by far the most vocal out of the new guys. Bryles, I never heard him talk. I mean, I'm not saying he wasn't, he did, but we couldn't hear him. And Clements too. He was not an offensive line screamer. He's in control, but he's not. But Dugans, you heard him a lot, and he, man. Again, David Kelly has a place in this program. It's a really odd, weird situation right now, but he did not, obviously, under any circumstance, have the knowledge, the breadth of knowledge about playing wide receiver that Ron Dugans does. Ron Dugans, when you watched him just in drills, just with his guys, he would play the DB, and then the wide receivers would just getting off the line. He's like, look, man, get your hands up. If you have your hands down right now, I'm just going to jab you, and you can't go anywhere. Get your hands up and fight. And get my hands off. And he talked about going 4 steps and then dig and planting your foot in the ground. All these little attention to details, like, no, you ran that 6 yards. That should have been 4 yards. Back and forth with him. And every time, the one thing he kept saying that I've actually told Brady about this a lot is they barely missed a couple of long passes. And the receivers ran with their arms out for maybe 2 or 3 steps. He's like, man, that slows you down when you're running with your arms out like that. Take 2 more steps full speed, then reach out the last second and get it, like 15.
Yeah.
He should do that every time he wants something right. All right, guys, watch Tamorian.
Yeah, show me.
But Dugans is going to give those guys a lot of life. They got kind of controlled by the DBs, I thought, on Monday. I thought the DBs were a lot better, and they brought it. And there was a funny moment, and I wrote about it on War Chant with Asante Samuel, where Blackmon made a bad throw or an errant throw. And Asante Samuel is going to be one of those guys now. Yeah. He's going to be like a Telvin, or he's going to be a captain, a leader. He's yelling at Black. He's a sophomore, true sophomore. He's yelling at Blackmon, uh-oh, JB's got complacent. He knows he's won the job. Doesn't have to work. We see you, JB, just trying to get under his skin a little bit. I mean, that's you might say, well, that's kind of not a great thing to do, but that's what teammates do. You can build each other up in a lot of different ways and try to make a guy prove you wrong. I mean, they're buddies, they're friends, they're teammates, but in the moment, they're competitors. And if you try to get under their skin, Lord knows Jalen Ramsey did that for 3 years while he was here. But I was really impressed with Samuel and the Dent kid, and Lawante Taylor, to me, looked good, moved around really well. Also Hampson's at linebacker. They moved Hampson to linebacker. Yeah. We didn't see Lars Woodby.
We did not. We saw him.
We saw him there, but he didn't play any of the 7-on-7 or 11-11. I'm not sure what that's about. But I thought there was a lot to be. Excited about.
Playoff or Charlotte?
Well, again, though, if you get to Charlotte, that means you probably beat Clemson. Okay. So I feel like if you're in Charlotte and you win that game, Playoffs, yeah.
Subscribe to the show, please, on iTunes. It's Wake Up War Chant. Subscribe to any podcast provider, but especially on iTunes. Subscribe, unsubscribe, and then subscribe, and leave a 5-star review. Here we go, Corey. Look it out. Check it out. Last review, February 28th, 2019. Pop and Ham 69 Who. Assman and Clark Griswold is the title of the review. 5 stars.
Oh, nice.
Laid back and good show with funny anecdotes. Not as serious and factual like other FSU podcasts. Noelcast, he gives them a shout out. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah,
but entertaining on the drive entertaining on the drive to work. There we go. Man, look at that. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The last 6 reviews were 5-star, and the one before that was 4 stars. The guy said he would give it 3.75 and 4, so I just rounded up. Thanks, Clyde 007. Thanks for rounding up, champ.
What's that, on YouTube?
No, this is – oh, no, God, no. We're never –
That's iTunes?
Yeah, that's iTunes. We're not diving in that nonsense.
Yeah, so, I mean, look, there's different podcasts for different types of fans. We do a lot of these, and I do think we know what we're talking about to a certain extent, but we're not going to delve deep. That's for a certain kind of fan.
The S&P and all this.
We kind of want to try to be as entertaining and informative, but and we're out at practice. Oh. We see stuff a lot.
Oh, yeah, so we're there.
But, yeah, so what the David Kelly thing, for the folks that don't know,
we have to talk about it.
We got to. It's a bizarre thing, man. And out of all the good things that I really do, I was there are some things to be encouraged by that first day. And we do think the offense will be better. It did not do well in 11-on-11. It's hard to block when there's no pads because it's just hard to block. It's hard to block it's just hard to block. So they didn't get a lot of great pass plays off. They did run the ball pretty well with Cam, but again, you can't tackle. Yeah. So the offense didn't do great. They got a lot of room to improve. So, but overall, I thought we were both encouraged by what we saw. You were definitely encouraged by the no music except during the breaks and then the 11-11. By the way, we haven't even talked about that, so I guess we'll ask Willie about it. That had to be a Kindle thing.
I'm not going to ask him.
That had to be a Kindle thing.
I don't want to ask him.
It's a Kindle thing, right?
That's awkward. No, I don't know.
It's got to be.
People got offended that you suggested that was the reason in, I think, your column.
In the observations. I didn't suggest it. I said that.
Why would you speculate that was? Why can't we just give Willie credit for it? Why do you have to give Kendall Browse credit for it?
Because Willie's done it everywhere he's been. Yeah. So anyway, but Kendall might have been like, look, I can't, or Clement, whoever might have been like, they're not loud dudes. I can't be heard if you're playing music. I can't concentrate. Whatever it might have been, or it might have just been Willie saying, these guys don't deserve music. Let them win some games, then we'll start playing music at practice. But so I know you were encouraged by that. Obviously, I don't care. I like the music. I missed it. I missed all the beats. I missed the beats being dropped.
Blue jeans and my all white.
Pop it.
I should have read the review. I should have read the review like in the later back in good to show funny anecdotes, not a serious factual like other FSU podcast blogs. That's how I'm digging, folks.
That's how it works. That was the soundtrack to 2018.
So of all the encouraging stuff.
So David Kelly,
baffling.
It's an odd situation. So they tried to get a waiver that they were never going to get.
And it's not because there's some conspiracy against Florida State University.
You can't be hired as an assistant coach and then move into an off-the-field role for after a year.
When you're involved in the recruitment of players.
It's an NCAA rule because they don't want teams to be able to hire like a kid's dad or a kid's uncle or a kid's position coach in high school or his head coach.
And truly, sorry to interrupt you again. Kejuan Ratliff from Florida, I think former Florida Gators, had been hired at Florida, but apparently that's not passing the smell test. That we'll see what's going to happen with that. He has a 7-on-7 team, and some of those players that he's coached are on the roster in Gainesville. So that
so they hired him for a year, and then we're going to move him into another role.
I don't know. I think they're actually trying to hire him on an off-field capacity.
Yeah, and you can't do that. Yeah. It's just you can't because essentially the way these schools work now, a place like Alabama. They have apparently 1 million spots to put a coach. They could say, the best player in the country goes to this school. Well, hey, tell your coach that he can come and be an analyst or a recruiting, a recruiting assistant. We'll pay him $450,000 to do that. Well, essentially you're paying $450,000 to get the kid to your school. So I get why the rule is there. But anyway, either Taggart didn't know about the rule, I think the big thing is he didn't know Dugans was going to become available. Like, Dugans was his first choice. He didn't get him. He's like, okay, well, I can do David Kelly for 2 years. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. We can get by with David Kelly for 2 years, even though he didn't really want to do it. He's done it before. He's been a receivers coach at a high level. And then after 2 years, we'll move him back to where I want him to be. And then we'll go and get the best one available. It just so happened that Dugans became available. I think Willie Taggart's thinking was, I got to get him now. We'll let the dominoes fall where they fall. Well, they fell in the sense that now David Kelly is an on-field position coach without a position to coach. He's an on-field assistant.
He's one of the 10.
He's one of the 10, but he's the recruiting coordinator now. He is not an official assistant coach.
He doesn't have a segment to coach. He's not a receivers coach. He's not coaching them. He's not coaching running backs.
So essentially, you're paying 10 guys to get 9 guys worth of work, right? You're not maximizing. You're basically pretending it's 2014 when you only had 9 assistant coaches. Now, teams won championships for 100 years with only 9 assistant coaches. But now everybody else is with 10. At that time, everybody was working with 9.
Yeah,
now everybody's got 10 assistant coaches. You essentially have 9. And it was I don't know how else to say it, man. It was a bizarre, it was surreal. David Kelly's still in his all gray sweats, and I don't know if they're figuring out what his role will be, but he literally just kind of stood in the middle of the field and didn't do anything at all for a lot of the practice. Now he'd walk over. He was like, it reminded me of well, Taggart was more involved. Taggart's involved. He's going from position to position and talking and seeing what's going on.
It was like he was a high school coach visiting practice.
Kind of 30, 40 yards off to the side. When they were doing 11 on 11 at the end, they had the ball at the 25. He was at the opposite 20, literally by himself. Nobody around, not talking, just watching. That's just a weird dynamic. Now, it's the first day of spring. It was the first day of spring. They might figure that out, but I guess he's got to be there. He is the recruiting coordinator, but it's just it was so surreal. It was hard not to know. It was hard not to notice. It was just hard not to notice.
I'm not as bothered by the optics of it as opposed to the actual logistics of it. Just the fact that this team, coming off a 5-7 season, is going into this make or break year to a certain degree, shorthanded by and large. I mean, they're only going to have 10 paid. I mean, they're paying 10 guys to be a position coaches, but only 9 of them are going to perform those tasks.
It's odd to me that, why wouldn't you make him your special teams coach then? That's not a lot that goes into that. So now Mark Snyder is the special teams coach / linebackers coach. He's helping out Hampton.
Yeah, remember that? Remember when I was talking about how I liked him? I thought maybe linebackers. And
yeah, but what's odd now is Odell's got 12 or 14 guys he's working with. He's got a lot of guys he's having to work with by himself. Meanwhile, you've got another guy on the other field that is literally standing there.
I think I saw him maybe. I was listening. I'm not trying to say he was derelict of anything. Just I'm running around the field trying to film all this stuff. I don't have any footage of Mark Stein. I didn't even see where he was. What was he? Was he floating around?
Yeah, he'd float around a little bit. He was working with the linebackers some. He came over and watched a little bit with the D lineman with Odell. But it's just it's odd right now. It's an odd thing that you have. You have a coach out there that wasn't talking to anyone. That wasn't Bobby Bowden. You know what I mean? Bobby Bowden goes stand in the tower, not talk to anybody for 2.5 hours. David Kelly's not that guy. So I wonder how what that will mean moving forward, how that will translate moving forward. I think I joked on this show that so they don't have a DB's coach, which they need. I don't understand could you not skirt the NCAA rule by firing David Kelly and then hiring him back in 7 months?
Yeah, surely you couldn't do that. I mean, I saw somebody mention it.
And I'm not advocating for the firing of anyone. I'm just saying you
to beat the game system.
You've handcuffed yourself now where you have 9 coaches. We'll see. It's not – look, you're still coming out ahead because you got Briles and Clements and Dugans.
It's not good, though.
You've upgraded our offense because you got Briles, Clements, and Dugans. I think we can say that from day one. Yeah. It's been a big upgrade. That's something that still has to get worked out because, you're left with 9 coaches in a 10-coach system. It's odd. And it was just odd to look. It was just odd. It was odd that didn't seem like there was anything for him to do. No. And I don't, so anyway, hopefully that gets figured out and they figure out a role for him other than to just stand there and watch. I'm not saying that after practice he doesn't have things to say. He might be great in the meeting room. He might say, this is what I saw, this is what I saw, this is what I saw. We don't know. But for those 2 hours, there wasn't a lot of communication, and that's a guy that's, getting paid a lot of money to be one of your assistant coaches, not really being maximized. And we'll see how Odell does with the whole D line. You hope the special teams are better. I would think that maybe David Kelly could help out in that capacity at some point with special teams. But yeah, it's a weird situation, and it's.
Ira's mentioned, I think, on this show when we did it, or when we did defensive line preview. The United States and Canada, we're right on top of each other, but there's a difference between Canadians and Americans. Just because defensive tackles...
Yeah, we're awesome, and they're up there...
They're gingers, mostly. Weird.
Drinking, just eating...
Just kidding.
Basically, they drink syrup and Molson Light, right? Isn't that what they do?
Molson Canadian. Moose jaw?
Yeah, they're moose humpers.
Easy. Come on, man. We got a lot of friends in the Great White North. We got some penetration.
You think we got some listeners in Canada?
Yeah, show respect.
Sorry, I was just kidding. You're not moose humpers. But, man, you love your maple syrup. Holy moly, these guys with their syrup.
I was defending something there. But the
you said that Canada and the U.S. was on top of each other.
Defensive tackles and defensive ends are separated by 3 yards of dirt and grass doesn't mean they're the same position. Like the skill set or different techniques, different tactics you're using to beat your man.
Yeah, but what's weird about that?
And to be like, Odell, you're going to handle all of this now, and you've never done it. Not that he's not incapable of, but And especially because defensive end is a huge question mark going to the season. I mean, Brian Burns is gone.
Yeah.
Wally May's gone. Is Josh Kando going to emerge? Can Xavier Peters, Dennis Briggs, one of those guys? Or both
Xavier
those guys?
Peters is fast, by the way. Holy
is.
moly. He ran
He
down
is.
Nolan McDonald on a little QB scramble.
Yeah.
But what's weird about that, though, and I agree with you 100%, it's a totally different skill set to have a defensive end, a defensive tackle, and body type. But you do have one guy coaching an offensive tackle, an offensive guard, and a center. Those are all different positions.
But it's still hand placement. It's the right steps when we're talking about offensive line.
Right.
I mean, hand placement, it goes into play in every sort of position. But I mean, the violence of your hands coming off the edge, or if you're going to,
But centers have a
stunt.
completely different job than a tackle.
Yeah.
He's coaching. Heck, you got Odell coaching 13 guys, and you got Clements coaching 16. I mean, there's a ton of offensive linemen. Again, they threw a lot of bodies at this problem. Hopefully they'll be able to put together a competent offensive line. There's no reason to think they won't, because he's good. He's a good offensive line coach, and you hope they do have some. They can find a match of 5 that can move people out of the way a little bit. But yeah, I think overall there's reasons to be optimistic. It's hard to say though, because again, I think so much of it. We can talk about David Kelly, and that's a weird thing that's going on. And we can talk about how good the DBs looked and Tamori and Terry and who the quarterback's going to be. It's all going to come back. It's all going to come down to those 5 up front. If you have the worst offensive line in college football, you're not going to be any good. If you can get to top 80, you're going to win 8 games.
Or maybe you know how to dial it up right. Maybe you know how to set stuff up to get things.
That too. You'll be able to adjust to a bad offense. I do think Kendall Briles can adjust to a bad offensive line better than what we saw last year. That's why he's here.
And I don't want to rehash old talking points and bad memories, but I don't care how bad NC State's secondary supposedly was last year. That offense looked a little different in Raleigh.
Dude, they faced some bad defenses, and they never looked like that.
And there was something there that was different than what we saw. We were imagining the other 11 games that season. So, I mean, that kind of gives you hope that with the right guy who it seems like is going to be able to do what he wants to do and call what he wants to call, we'll get this thing moving back in the right direction. I mean, to be overly cynical, and I don't want to go on a really too bad of a note, but I mean, the people that are going to be dissenters about Willie Taggart, are going to point to things, the fact that, you brought a coach in here, you hired him based off of his offensive prowess, but now he's ceded control to it, and you're paying 7 figures a year to a guy to call the plays. You hired a guy in Willie Taggart because he was a great recruiter, and now you've pretty much ceded one of your spots of a paid assistant coach just to focus on recruiting. So what do
I thought that was interesting though what he said about that. But I mean, hey man, have 3 of them. Have 3 recruiting.
He's doing a good job of putting a good
Pimpleton
face on
could be a
it.
recruiting assistant too, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's their focus. That's got to be their focus. Yeah. You can't in 2022, 2023, you can't have 3 guys at the combine with only 2 with the possibility of getting drafted. Yeah. Florida State can't be that school anymore. You have to start getting guys here. Again.
What is the thing? Terry's going to go to the combine. Cam's going to go to the combine. Marvin's going to go to the combine. Sanford Samuels could maybe go to the combine.
Oh, he definitely would. Taylor would go to Levante.
And then so what? Is that Jimbo sucking? Does Jimbo suck? Those are all guys that he recruited. Is that Willie developing talent now? Jimbo would have totally.
Well,
I don't want
Tamorian.
Well,
Jimbo, he'd still just be a gunner for Jimbo.
No, Jimbo would make him a gunner.
Man, Tamorian's not going pro. What's the matter with you?
I don't. You can use that barometer. I don't like using that barometer.
No, but I'm saying that's what they got to get back to is making Florida State a place where there's 12, 14 guys.
But people want players that want to be at Florida State because they want to be at Florida State. They don't want to come here because it's a pipeline. There's people that they're like, oh yeah, I don't want these kind of players anymore.
You want guys to come here to be the kids that come here because it's an NFL pipeline need to be NFL caliber. That was the problem. You had guys coming here because of the pipeline that weren't good enough to get to the league. That killed them. Before that, they had guys coming here that wanted to get to the league that were good enough, the Mario Edwards of the world and people like that. But I think there's a lot to be not a lot. There's some things to be optimistic about.
Overwhelmingly, I feel better than I feel better. I feel good about walking out.
But I was going to say the thing that Willie Taggart said that I thought was interesting, and it's true, and all college coaches are having to deal with this, is you're not just recruiting high school kids anymore. I don't know. He said you're recruiting the portal and you're recruiting your own team. All of that
Which
is true.
Sucks, man. That's not
It's
fun,
what
but,
college
yeah.
football is now.
Yeah.
You're having to look at the portal, and you're having to look at your own team to see who's in the portal to keep them out of the portal. The freaking portal's going to swallow us all up. We're going to end up in some weird dimension, all watching Army and Navy back in the 50s. I don't know how it's going to work, this stupid portal, but that's changed college football. And so I think it's a good move. I think David Kelly will be an excellent recruiting coordinator. I think that's a perfect fit for him. He believes in Willie Taggart, maybe more than Willie Taggart believes in Willie Taggart. That dude is all in on Willie Taggart, and he would be a great ambassador, right-hand man for him. It's going to be weird for the next 9 months. But after that, when he settles into the recruiting coordinator role and they hire T-Buck, I know you listen to this. I know you listen to this every morning on your drive to awful Starkville, Mississippi. I feel for you, man. I know you want to be here. We all want you here. We're going to get you out of Starkville, man. We promise. That's our
Come with me if you want to live.
yeah. Or that Charlie Steiner, ESPN.
Yeah.
Follow me to freedom.
Yeah.
So we're going to get you here, T-Buck. Just hold tight for another 8 months. You're going to be here. David Kelly's going to be the recruiting coordinator. We're going to be coming off a 9-win season. Yeah. And holy moly, this roller coaster is going to be right. Well, I was going to say it's going to be up to the top, but then that portends of dropping straight down to the bottom.
Then it's fun. Then you got that's
well,
the
no, but
rush.
you don't want to go straight down to the bottom again. So we don't want it to be a roller coaster. This is a rocket ship. Right now, it's still in the what would you even call that thing? The platform? What is the space
launch
shuttle?
pad?
The launch pad. Yeah, it's in the launch pad right now. But we get through this year with 9 wins. David Kelly's going to be dialing up a top 5 recruiting class. T-Buck's on his way. Going to have 10 full coaches next year. Come on, man.
A couple.
Sorry,
things.
America. Sorry, ACC. Florida State's back.
Let me empty out my notebook, a.k.a. my phone. Again, first team offensive line, like Corey said, from left to right. Juwan, Dickerson, Brady, Arnold, baby on
And we
center.
should mention that in the position drills, Lars was working with the DBs when he was working.
And Hamsa was with
and Hamsa was with the linebackers, which is that's a pretty athletic group there if you're making that switch. I think Hamsa might be more
D-Jack wasn't first-team linebacker. People are all, what's going on? So, I mean, again, first day.
Yeah.
Relax. DeKalen was running out there with the first-team linebacking core.
And I'm telling you, man, you're going to like these DBs. Get after them.
One things I did notice, Mike Arnold had a flub up in the 11-on-11, and they put Dante Lucas in there to run with the first team at that point. That was a cool thing.
And he picked up Marvin Wilson and threw him over the fence, didn't he? Did that happen?
I don't know.
Okay.
Deontay Sheffield moved to running back.
Just trying to add to his legend.
Greg Dent was playing safety a lot.
Not Greg Dent.
Sorry, Darius. Much love, Greg. Not Darius. That's his brother.
Yeah. Akeem
Dent.
Sauce Magic. Not Hakeem.
Yeah.
Akeem.
He was playing safety.
Aslan thought I called him Hakeem in the video, which there's only one Hakeem.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't do it on purpose or anything like that.
Misspoke, I guess, or just breathed heavy.
And lastly, just a kind of we'll mention basketball real quick before we go. Not to dismiss them, but just let people know. Hang tight. We'll mention it.
We've been talking basketball plenty.
Yeah. You're going to watch videos once a week, unfortunately, now. I mean, it's just the way things are going to go with what we're able to watch. James Blackman's never going to complete 10 passes in a row at practice or in a game, I don't think. But at the end of the day, I still think that kid's going to win a good amount of football games. So people shouldn't get carried away if they see a bunch of balls getting thrown, sprayed here and there.
He threw some dimes. He overthrew plenty too, but he made some really nice throws in traffic. And then obviously he knows
he can have a bad quarter. I can see him having a bad quarter the way he did when he was a freshman. But I still think.
And remember the one thing he did as a freshman.
Road, he'll make it happen.
He always seemed to play his best when it was a close game in the fourth quarter. He made some really clutch drives
against Miami.
I hate to say it, but against Duke. Yeah. I mean, I had to have it against Duke.
Wake Forest.
Miami, Wake. A few of them, maybe the Louisville one too, until he fumbled. But that was he seems to really step up there in the fourth quarter, and he was good against NC State.
Torch the Gators.
Well, he did play well against the Gators. I would say he torched them, but that was because his receivers kept dropping passes, and Tamorian Terry was standing on the sideline. But he might not even been there. It's a redshirt kid. He might have been Snapchatting from Orlando or Turner County, wherever he's from.
He is Turner County.
But he's on the field now. So and then just switching to basketball real quick.
Big game,
huge game. So they're playing Virginia Tech, who's 15th in the country. Florida State's 14th now. They're moving on up.
Show respect.
Florida State wins, then they are guaranteed the number 4 seed.
In the ACC tournament.
In the ACC tournament, probably in the NCAA tournament too, but definitely the ACC tournament, and which would guarantee them of a double bye, which means they're already in the quarterfinals. They don't have to play the first 2 days. Again, it's not a huge deal in my opinion because they're not winning the ACC tournament. Their run would have to be Virginia. It'd have to be Virginia Tech in the quarterfinals, Virginia in the semifinals, and then Duke or Carolina in the championship game. Good luck.
Right.
It's not going to happen most likely. That's fine, especially not in Charlotte where you're going to be. It's a road game if you're playing Duke or North Carolina. But it's good. It would be great to get that double bye just to say you finish in the top 4. It would probably be their best win of the season in the ACC if they could beat Virginia Tech. And Virginia Tech, it's going to be – they're a good team, man. They don't have their point guard. He's still out, Justin Robinson. He's their playmaker, but he's been out now for about 3 weeks, and they still beat Duke without him. They're still winning a lot of games. So it's a good test for Florida State. And it's senior night. A lot of them, you got Nichols, Savoy, Kofor, Kumaji, and then the guy I'm writing on that you can read about on War Chant later on when you hear this, Terrence Mann. And the guy that came in with Bacon and Beasley and ended up, by any measure, having a better career than both of them. College career. I don't know where he's going to play professionally. Maybe he has a shot at the NBA, but he'll definitely be making money playing basketball. And he's one of those guys like Trent Forrest that's a program changer, program maker. But Beasley was here for a year, played in the NIT. Bacon was here for 2 years, played in 2 tournament games. This guy has gotten them now to the tournament or helped get them to the tournament 3 straight years. He might finish with the most wins in school history. He's, I think, 4 shy of Luke Laux right now, with still some games left. So, just a really neat story for the guy that came in as the other guy behind Bacon and Beasley to end up having the career he had, and may go out as the all-time winningest player. And the son of a coach. His mom's the head coach at Rhode Island, which is my girlfriend's alma mater.
The Mighty Rams.
The Mighty Rams went to school with Lamar Odom.
Yeah,
this
man.
one. I guess I gave away your age there. I'm sorry, but and she says Lamar Odom. Every time she went in the library, he was there. Is that right? Yeah, okay, I figured. Yeah.
Use the promo code FSU Spring 2019 for 6 bonus months and a $50 gift certificate code to Garnet in Gold. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Shout out to everybody who left the 5-star reviews. We really do appreciate it. Super cool when we can make you guys leave a 5-star review. Appreciate it. We're going to leave a thread on the Tribal Council for Renegade Express. We'll do that later in the week. Maybe we'll have a show tomorrow for Wednesday. Post-basketball, maybe not. But we'll definitely have something on Thursday after we've consumed Wednesday's practice and get to your Renegade Express questions. He's Corey Maslow. Thanks for listening. We'll catch up with y'all later.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.